in my personal opinion, I think that Christian Bailey is by far one of the more slept on athletes that I've had the opportunity to watch film that somebody has sent me. So shout out to Coach for sending this over to me. What's happening, everybody? This one, we're going to be looking at a player named Christian Bailey out of Georgia. He's in Georgia. We're going to take a look at his huddle here in a second, but I kind of wanted to start with this clip that I watched first. This is from his spring. This is some spring stuff from him, and then we'll get to his film and go through our regular stuff. But this was sent to me by a coach that knows him, and just for some insight, just fellow coach insight or whatnot. But wanted to check this out. Yeah, this is Christian Bailey. He goes to Newton County High School in Covington, Georgia, which is like southeast, like slightly south, but mostly east of Atlanta. So shout out to Georgia, shout out to the A. But wanted to take a look at this, right? Because I was watching his film, his 3-week highlight film, first 3 games, and saw this one first, then watched that one, and really impressed. In my opinion, this is a Division I defensive back, and rather than calling him a corner or a safety or a nickel, I'm saying a defensive back because he can play all 3 of those spots, and that's not as common. I'm somebody who really believes that the DB tag is really because it's easier to say, hey, DBs, than it is to say, hey, safeties, corners, and nickels, right? Like you just keep it a classification, like a group classification. And then it's also easier for non-defensive backs to just group everybody, like linemen and linebackers, that we're just DBs and they run around and cover somebody. But to me, I usually think that, you have a safety, you have a corner. They're not necessarily interchangeable. So most of the time, people are good at one and they're not as good at the other. So this kid, on the other hand, is different. So we're just going to play this. This is him right here. Again, this is spring stuff. I mean, first play in this one, yeah, it might have been, violent and whatnot, but that's exactly what we want. Like, that's physicality, that's violence, that's reach, length right there with that deflection. I mean, he's coming through and he's a hitter. Getting in there, breaking that up. He's a hitter. And that's one thing I like about him. And then watching here, you get to see him in coverage a bit. I mean, the way that he stands up a blocker and keeps them from being able to actually do anything, fantastic. I just love his instincts. He's violent, he's quick, he's fast. I mean, I think he's listed at 6'1", but when you watch his jam and you see the length in his arms, and that's him at free safety, good tackle in space, open field tackle. I mean, it's just one of those, like, yeah, that might have been his guy, but that was a good read. Slipping the block. Now, here's where I really like. This is where we get to see that inside jam, that press man technique with his inside jam. I really like the way that he moves his feet. He's firing his hands. He's not leaving it out there for the wide receiver to be able to use against him. Very just physical. Right here, you'll see another one. I mean, look at that. Cover 2. That was great. Disrupting releases, widening releases. I mean, didn't even let him get back to the line of scrimmage there, right? And spring. But to me, that's outstanding. Right? That right there is solid practice film, solid spring film, right? And obviously we want to see what he looks like in game. And so if we go over to his huddle, let's check this out. So this is weeks 1 through 3. And he's got the number 2. Let's go, 2, 3. That's where it's at. So this clip right here, I mean, it's a physical play. It's a solid hit. But the thing that, I don't know, I personally think about it, it's like, because you're coming from out of frame on this angle and we see a hit, like you could either end your film on this clip, you can almost take it out. There are some other plays that shows physicality. It's not necessarily a big deal, but I think if you moved it a little bit further to the end, look at that. I don't even think he got back to the line of scrimmage, maybe. All right. See what I mean by arm length? And then he comes out here for a TFL. That's outstanding. I like it. I like it. Some kickoff. I mean, he's a solid tackler. Like, he finishes tackles. And from DBs, that's another thing. From defensive backs, always hearing they don't tackle, especially corners. Corners don't tackle. Corners don't tackle. Well, he does. Stance is good. Pad height is good. I mean, that disruption there, and he wasn't going to let that quarterback break contain. Again, setting the edge, not letting the blocker do anything. And so here we have some coverage clips. So I want to actually kind of back it up. So one thing that I will say after rewatching this is I would kind of like to see these a little bit sooner. You can start with those plays where you open up, blowing up getting some solid tackles. Go ahead and run this, because as a defensive back, DBs are pass first, right? Like, that's, scheme will change that, but DBs technically and typically are worried about the pass more than anything. So watching him up here in coverage, right, we can see this a little bit sooner. And one thing that that was mentioned to me was that, he doesn't see a lot of targets. At least when he's on a receiver, he's not seeing a lot of targets. They're not throwing to his side a lot, which I hear that a lot for defensive backs. And the one thing that I always say is why? Like, that's my first question when they say, oh, they're not throwing my way. They're not throwing my way. Why? And I don't want you to answer me. I don't want you to tell me the answer. I want you to show me why they're not throwing your way, because that is film. That's what should be on film. DBs, why are they not throwing your way? If you're a corner or a safety and you're like, oh, I'm not getting the ball thrown my way that often, so I might have 1 or 2 PBUs, but I'm only getting, 3 targets or 5 targets in 4 games or something like that. Cool. Show me why. Is it because of the way that your opponent scheme, or is it because of the way that you play? That's a big difference. Those are very different, right? Like, this type of player, I think all of these game clips, right? You should have game highlights should be longer than however many seconds for this type of player, right? I want to see longer than these many seconds. Now, granted, first 3 games is 1:48. It does make me want to know more. And obviously there are going to be some things that are not on there, like how does he play the ball in the air? We saw that in the spring clip, where he had like 1 ball thrown his way, or a couple actually thrown his way, where he was able to break up catches and play through the hands and high point and show that range and that length that he has in his wingspan. But you don't see it here, and obviously you can't control that if the ball never comes your way. But what you can do is you can show me why they don't throw at you. Are they not throwing your way because your technique is just that solid? Because if that's the case, show me. Right? Corners are actually really hard to find in high school. They're very hard to find. If you can show me why you're not having targets thrown your way, I promise you, it's going to help elevate. So let's go take a look at his Twitter. 6'1", 185. that's a solid size for a corner, right? Like everybody wants these bigger corners now. And a 6'1", 185 corner with the 3.7 GPA who plays the way that he does, very physical and willing to hit. And to me, I question why, like, why not more? Not this one. Sorry. What is it? This one? Yeah. Why not more? Why not more? Shout out to them, because if they get him, that's a steal. And I do want to know why is there not more? But that being set aside, it's not like I can give him a scholarship. So me trying to figure that out doesn't really do any good or anything like that. But if I was scouting for a college, if I was on staff and this was actually my job, wink, wink, hint, hint, one thing that I would do is immediately, I'm trying to find out more. I want to find out more about Christian Bailey. And one of the things I want to find out is are there other schools looking at him? Are people has nobody just pulled the trigger on offering him yet? They still holding out on offers, but in my opinion, I mean, this kid is solid. I mean, he's good. You saw it. You saw it on the film. He's worth having that scholarship. And again, if he was in Colorado, and I know this is going to sound crazy because he's in Georgia, which I consider to be one of the top states, which I think most people consider to be one of the top states for high school football in the country. Him being from Georgia, but if he was in Colorado, because corners are so hard to come by out here, we don't get that many anyway, at least that can play like he plays. If he was out here, I think he would have already had a couple of offers. I think he's already shopped around, and at the very least has a couple of Big Sky offers. I think he should. I think that because he only has the one offer that I saw on his Twitter page, because he only has that one offer here, I offer him, right? Like, come in and try to swoop this kid. If you, wherever it is, boom, hitter. And that's him playing safety up here. I mean, he's playing safety. He's playing as a nickel. You can play him as a true corner. And his press man technique, which is another thing that you don't see in high school as much anymore, especially out here. Most of these high schools play cover 3, cover 2. They're playing off coverage stuff. It drives me nuts. Nobody really plays press man anymore. And I think a lot of that has to do with them not knowing how to teach it. It's just not taught correctly. But in my personal opinion, you find a defensive back who plays the way he does. He is a Mr. Everywhere. You can move him around. That's somebody that provides you depth while on the field. So it's nuts, right? Like, that's like having an extra queen piece in chess who can move around in the secondary, but then he could come up and he can help the line or the linebackers. You know, you can apply pressure in the backfield with him. In my personal opinion, I think that Christian Bailey is by far one of the more slept on athletes that I've had the opportunity to watch film that somebody has sent me. So shout out to Coach for sending this over to me. I really do appreciate it. I really hope that, we can help his recruiting and just mainly just help him get on the radar and be seen by other coaches out there. And so, yeah, if if you recruit Georgia, I highly suggest you recruit this young man because he's a baller. Again, here's that press technique. You just don't see this as much. And it's cover 2. And you see how much that helped out the safety over top. Safety just kind of gets to chill. Tackle in space. Can make tackles behind the line of scrimmage. Let's see this press again. It's, again, cover two. I mean, and he plays it well. He does a good job at sinking. He has his eyes where he's looking in the backfield. He's also reading that swing route that came out. Not even letting him get back to the line of scrimmage. I mean, that's fantastic. So yeah, Christian Bailey out of Newton County High School, class of 2026, 6'1", 185 defensive back with a 3.7 GPA. At least that's what's written up here. This would be perfect for like a title page on your film. I love that this here is pinned. It is screen recorded. Again, I've made my personal opinion about screen records clear. I don't actually have an issue with screen recording. My big thing is let's just make sure we, take a. I mean, that's nitpicking. I'm just nitpicking. Who cares? Like as long as we can see it and there's not all the extra stuff up here, it's not an issue, right? It plays. I know that's kind of what some people, why they prefer the screen record, is because it just automatically plays. You can also embed a playing video in Twitter. A lot of that has to do with people's Twitter settings, but if you've ever noticed, there are some people who just link their huddle into Twitter. They'll link that video and it will auto play. It's just, you got to kind of know how to do it and the settings got to be set up for it. But other than that, I mean, outstanding player. Recruit him.